and welcome to Yoga with Kylie and this little exploration around the SI joint. And I'm going to do a little bit of myofascial release, a little bit of breath work, a little bit of stabilization work, a little bit of somatic work, just so that you can get to know this area of the body that is often thought of as being really fragile, really unstable, and all of these other kind of myths and misconceptions we have around this area of the body. So hopefully you find a little bit of relief with this practice, but also a little bit of knowledge about how your body moves. You will need a few props. If you don't have a squishy ball, just roll up a pair of socks so you've got something that's relatively soft rather than a hard ball. A chair that you can rest your heels on. A couple of blocks or similar, could just be some books. I've got a long stretchy band as well as a looped stretchy band. If you've only got kind of one of those items, you can just kind of make do with what you've got around the house. You could even use a strap, a yoga strap, and just kind of push out into the yoga strap. So whatever you've got will do. Oh, and the other thing you'll need is either a balloon or a rubber glove. So I'm using a rubber glove because I don't have balloons, but if you've got balloons lying around the house, then feel free to use that. So we're going to start off with a little bit of a breathing exercise. So your heels are going to rest on top of the chair. So you'll be in a kind of 90-degree angle at the knee joint. And then you're going to lightly kind of press down into your heels. And you want to not flatten out the spine, but as you press down into the heels, just notice what it does to the position of your pelvis. And if you feel like you're kind of too far away from the chair, just shuffle in so you've got that kind of 90-degree angle. You're going to take either a cushion or one of your blocks in between the knees. So that's going to help you connect with your inner thighs or adductor muscles. Now, as you press down into your heels, if you notice that you can only really kind of fire up one side, so say maybe the right side, then you're going to take that right leg away from the chair. So you'll just be pressing into the left. So oftentimes what happens with the SI joint is we just have these imbalances in the body or asymmetries. Nothing wrong with that. So this little exercise is going to tune you into the breath and how to stabilize, but also tune you into maybe whichever leg needs that little bit more activation. Now with your balloon, you're going to hold the balloon in your left hand, or the glove in this case, and you want to have a gap if it's a glove so that you can blow up like so. Now the idea is I'm going to blow it up and then I don't want it to come down. So this is the tricky bit because I need to be able to blow in and then inhale through my nose whilst keeping the pressure in this, which means I'm going to hold the intra-abdominal pressure through my abdomen, and this is really the key for this exercise. So I'll give you a little demo. You're going to get the hole. So notice that the glove doesn't kind of come down and flop in between. So you blow into the glove and then breathe in through your nose and blow into the glove or the balloon. The balloon or the glove needs to stay inflated, which means you're keeping your intra-abdominal pressure. So let's try that again, and you can do it with me. If you're taking one leg away, you're going to extend it to the sky, press the legs against the block to keep that activation through the inner thighs. And then when you're ready, begin to blow. And as you're blowing, try and bring that right arm up in a cactus position alongside you if that's comfortable. And just play around, try again. You might find that it takes you a while to get the intra-abdominal pressure to stay in the belly in order to keep the balloon or the glove inflated. And make sure you're not squeezing and using your hand to create the balloon or the glove to stay up. Let's try one more time. centered, and then release. Let's move the block out of the way. And grab your ball. You can come away from the chair now. You're going to take the ball underneath the pelvis, so right on the sacrum, which is this triangular bone right here in the lower back. And you're going to use the ball to just roll around that whole area. So now just moving into a little bit of myofascial release, but more importantly, proprioception around this area. So there's a lot of muscles that feed into this area and stabilize this area. And some of those being the glute max, the piriformis. And so sometimes we can have some tender spots right on that edge where the bone, the sacrum bone meets the ilium, and where those muscles and tendons kind of feed in. Just using the ball to create this awareness of this area. And also the softness of the ball helps to induce a sense of relaxation through the body, through the nervous system. And try to hit both sides. And I'm just kind of rocking my pelvis side to side. So I'm kind of cross-fibering across the muscle fibers and across the joint. And then release the hips down to the ground and just notice how it feels in and around that area. And see if you can connect back into that breath that we had with the gloves, so that sense of breathing in, filling into all sides of the ribs. And as you breathe out, imagine you're blowing into the glove, and then create that eccentric expansion of the belly as you breathe in again. And then the next time that you breathe out, push through your heels, raise the hips up, but only go to about 3/4 of your bridge, so not all the way. And then again, imagine that you're blowing into the glove. Or if the glove is handy, you could try another round in this bridge shape. And just noticing, if you are using the glove, how that changes where you're breathing. You might sense more of the breath moving into the back body, and perhaps a change in the orientation of the pelvis, and maybe even a little bit more work happening through the glutes. And these muscles that help to extend the hips and also move us forward. And then nice and slowly lower your hips down to the ground. Roll onto your left-hand side and stack the knees, stack the hips. I'm going to do a little hip slide now. So this is similar to what happens when we're walking. So keeping the feet together, you're just sliding the front or the top knee all the way forward, and then sliding the top knee all the way back. And as you rock forwards and backwards, notice how the ribs and the rest of the body kind of comes along for the ride. And just notice if it feels a little tight in certain areas. Maybe going forward you notice some tension somewhere, or maybe it's on the backwards movement. So just really noticing how this feels. And sometimes all that's needed is just to create more awareness of how we move. And let's do one more. And then roll back onto your back. And just take a little check-in from side to side. Notice if one side of the pelvis feels any different. And maybe that side that you were just doing, the top side feels a little closer to the floor, or maybe that whole side feels like it's closer to the floor. Maybe there's just more awareness in and around that side of the body. And then roll on to the other side. And the same thing, you're going to stack your hips, stack your knees, keep the feet together, and then start to slide the top knee forward, and slide the top knee back. And slide it forward, and slide it back. And now take notice, does it feel any different on this side? As I mentioned, this is really like our walking pattern, so starting to notice maybe there's one side that has a little bit more movement or a little bit more tension. All just observation, don't need to judge or analyze or work out why, and just notice. Good, and then roll yourself onto your back. And again, just take a little observation. How does the pelvis feel now? How do the sides of the body feel? Is there a little bit more asymmetry or is there a little more symmetry? And then draw your knees in, stack them over your hips, and bring your hands to the tops of the knees. Now one hand is going to do a pushing action and the other hand is going to do a pulling action. So it's going to look like this, pushing and pulling. But as we push and pull, the legs are going to be resisting. So one leg is going to be resisting the pull and one leg is going to be resisting the push. So I'm going to push with my right hand first and pull with my left, but my legs are resisting as I push and pull. And then switch it over, push and pull to the other side, but resist with the legs. Switch it over, push, pull. Push and pull. Good, keep going. This is working a little bit more into our hip flexors. And also just helping to reset the pelvis, the sacrum, these muscles, and then around the front of the hips. Good, let's do one more. And then release the feet down. And again, just notice how the pelvis is feeling. Notice any sensation. And carefully roll yourself over to one side and come up into a tabletop. So hands underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips, and then we're going to purposely create asymmetry in the body. So walk your left knee forward a bit and your right arm forward. So it's going to feel a little bit like our walking pattern. And now let's go into some cat-cow. So you can choose whether you inhale into cow, lifting sitting bones, lifting chest, and then exhale into cat, or whether you breathe the opposite way. Just finding your own rhythm, and again, just noticing how this feels. Noticing if there's any extra movement, maybe a little side waist on that left-hand side. Maybe it's starting to kind of shorten a little. And just noticing anything with how this feels. And maybe it actually feels really comfortable. And it's also an observation. And then come back to neutral with the spine. Tuck your toes, keep this asymmetry, and press into an asymmetrical down dog. So that left knee is going to be really bent. The right arm is going to be really straight and pushing away. That right leg a little straighter. So getting a nice length and stretch through the right side body. Good, and then lower the knees down to the ground. Come back into neutral position. Let's check out how that feels. And then slide your right knee forward and your left arm forward. Same thing on this side, cat-cow. Find your breath rhythm. Notice if you're choosing to inhale into cat or exhale into cat. And notice if it feels any different on this side. Are there any extra movements that you didn't have on the other side? Maybe areas that feel a little tighter. And one more. And then come back into a neutral position. Tuck your toes and press it back into an asymmetrical down dog. Really push with the left hand. Bend that right knee generously and just notice how that's feeling through the pelvis. Good, and then walk your way forward to the top of your mat. Soften into your knees and slowly roll up the spine. And once you're at the top, grab your bands. So the long band, you're going to lie it about halfway down the mat. And the short band is going to go around your upper thighs. And it's going to do a little bit of activation for the gluteus medius or the abductor muscles now. So taking the strap around your thighs, you're going to push out into the strap. And then imagine that you want to pull your knees towards your chest to bend you into your chair pose, your Utkatasana. Now, paying attention to the placement of the knees, try and step one foot out and off the mat and then back in. Now, if this is already challenging, you might just stay and hold a static chair. Otherwise, stepping out with the other leg. Now, check that the knee doesn't turn in and that the supporting knee doesn't collapse in. So you're really trying to push out as much as possible. And then back in. Step out and back in. Let's keep going from side to side. You can go as fast or as slow as you need to. You could even just take a break and come back to just chair pose and reset. Okay, let's do one more each side. And then as you exhale, fold over your legs. Step your feet back, come into a high plank position, and then really strongly pull back with your hands. So you're creating an engagement through the latissimus dorsi muscle, which is a big muscle on the mat, on the back rather, that also helps to stabilize us when we move, connects into the pelvis. It can become really important when we think of things like the SI joint as well. Good, lower your knees to the floor. Keep pulling back as you lower all the way to your belly. Now hopefully the band has landed somewhere around your pelvis or your belly. You're going to hold on to the band with your palms facing up. And bring your hands relatively close to the sides of the body. Push out into your band that's around your legs and roll your inner thighs up. Now pull on the long band straight up to the sky. And then see if you can lift your chest and lift your legs. So it's a loaded locust. And again, that's accessing the strength of the latissimus dorsi. Really trying to get the back body to come to the party to support this lower back and SI joint area. Good, release down with control. Plant your hands and press back to downward facing dog. Still with that pressure out into the band. Noticing that awareness through your outer hips. Then slowly walk forward to the top of the mat. Soften the knees and again roll up the spine. Pour the weight down through the heels as you come on up to stand. We'll do one more round of that. Push out with your heels. Push out into the band. Imagine pulling your knees up towards your chest to sink into your chair pose. You can stay in the static chair, just really working on pressing out into your band, or begin to step the foot out and off the mat. As you step out and off the mat, remembering you're trying to make sure that the knees don't collapse in. So there's that sense of really strongly pushing out, particularly with the stepping leg, so it doesn't just internally rotate in. So let's do one more each side. And then as you exhale, fold over your legs. Step your way back again to your high plank position. And again, really strongly pull back with your hands. You'll notice the core starts to kick in as well. See if you can breathe into the back body. Keep pulling back with your hands and pressing up with your thighs. Lower the knees to the floor. Keep pulling back as you lower to your belly. Hold on to the band. Press your pelvis down, tailbone down. Press out into your band as you pull the band towards the sky and then lift your chest up. Really work the shoulder blades towards each other. Pull up on the band a little more. And then slowly release down and press back to downward facing dog. Walk your feet forward to the top of your mat. And again, bend into the knees as you roll up the spine. And then just bring the chair a little closer in if you've moved it away. And turn around so you can sit your hips back to the chair. So we're going to press out into the band and just sit down to the chair and back up again. And think of just really lightly touching the chair rather than kind of relaxing completely before coming back up. So pressing out into the band, start to sit the hips down, lightly touch, and then drive down through the heels to come back up. Lower the hips down, lightly touch, drive through your heels to come up. And again, lower down, lightly touch, drive through the heels. Good, few more. Push to rise. Good, 3 more. And 2. And last one. Awesome work. Release the band. And grab your blocks. Now, if you need to for this bit, next bit, you can sit yourself up by a wall or turn your chair around so that you've got something to use as a little bit of balance. You're going to stand up onto the blocks. Keep the standing leg straight. Flex the foot of the hovering leg. And then let the leg go down and then draw it back up again. Take it down and draw it up. And so all of this happens at the pelvis. So I'm not doing any weird twisting. I'm not bending my standing leg. I'm literally just moving the pelvis through that kind of lateral plane. What we call abduction and adduction. And just really notice how your foot is on the blocks. Notice where you're pressing. See if you can press a little bit more evenly between big toe mound, pinky toe mound, and the center of the heel. Good, let's do 2 more. And then come down. You might give that leg a little shake. And stand up on the other side. Again, pull up on the thigh so that the knee stays straight. Flex your other foot. And then nice and slowly down and up. And just notice maybe one side it's a little easier. Maybe one side you've got better balance. So all of this is useful information to inform you how you move and what might be going on in terms of how you move, how you stabilize, and how this might affect what's going on in and around the pelvis and the lower back. Good, last 3. And 2. And 1. Awesome. Come down, give the legs a little shake out. Move the blocks out of the way. And come all the way back down onto your back. And this last one is going to be a little bit of a resisted pigeon for the outer hip or the piriformis. So oftentimes we tend to go into stretching. Like the SI joint gets a bit grumpy, so we go into pigeon and try and stretch it out. What we really need to try and do though is strengthen the piriformis. So rather than going into a passive pigeon, I recommend that you maybe try doing more active pigeons so that it helps to bring some more stability to the joint. So I'm going to show you 2 variations. First variation is on your back, making the number 4 shape, and you're going to actively draw the legs in, but the figure 4 is resisting the whole time, and then you're going to push the legs away, and this figure 4 leg is going to be pressing while the other leg resists. Okay, so this is option 1, a supine active pigeon. Option 2, use your blocks, step your right foot to the center of your mat, come onto the outside of the foot, and then push into the outside of the foot as you slowly lower the knee to the outside, and then push through the foot to come back up. So I'm using that pressure into the floor to lift and lower the knee rather than using my pelvis to lift and lower, or the back leg. So really trying to activate the outer hip by how I carve the outer edge of my foot into the floor. Let's go for 3 more. Good, last one. And then release the knee down and switch sides. So again, you could go into the supine version, across the left ankle. You're going to draw the legs in. This left leg is going to be resisting, and then you'll push away. And now the right leg is resisting. So that's option one. Option two, use your block, step your left foot to the center of your mat, roll onto the pinky toe side of the foot, and then nice and slowly, knee comes to the outside, push down into the outer edge of the foot and use that pressure down to straighten out the leg. Slowly resist gravity as you open out, and then push into the earth to straighten out. Resist gravity on the way down. Press into the earth to come back up. Good, 3 more. Good, last 2. Really resisting the motion. So you're not just kind of flopping in and out, but really resisting in both directions. Nice, drop the back knee. Let's move the blocks out of the way. You can bring your chair back onto your mat. Place your heels back up on the chair and just come into a little relaxation. Just letting the pelvis reset, the lower back reset. Bringing the breath back to a more equal rhythm. So you might go 5 counts in and 5 counts out. Just staying as long as you need to. Thank you so much for practicing with me. I hope some of these exercises you found useful, and have a beautiful day. Namaste.